Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we're going to be ranking all of the Van Halen albums from worst to best, all right? It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be probably controversial, as every ranking is, but I'm really excited, man, and I can't wait to dive on into it. So with that all being said, let's get into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, and what a sad time, man. It really is such a sad time. At the time of this filming, Eddie Van Halen passed away, I think, 4 days ago now. And it's still very fresh in everybody's mind. And, you know, it's such a downer and such a bummer. But I am very thankful, as you should be as well, to be alive at the time when Van Halen was creating music and being relevant in the public eye. So it ain't so bad at the end of the day. It's terrible to lose a legend, but let's celebrate his life and his legacy, and most importantly, his music. Before we get into this list, if you're brand new to my channel, you want to consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I got a ton of cool guitar and gear related content on this channel, so if you want to check that out, I'd really appreciate it, alright? And as always, everybody who returns and tunes back in, you guys are awesome, so I appreciate you so much. So I've created a list here on my phone of all the studio releases from Van Halen. I'm going to be excluding any sort of live releases and or greatest hits, even though the one greatest hits does have Humans Being on it, which is, you know, a phenomenal song. I'm going to be excluding that. This is all just going to be studio albums, okay? So my ranking is going to be very weird. Keep in mind that I'm a late 90s kid, early 2000s kid, and I grew up at the very end of Van Halen's career. And yeah, man, I just have a very unique opinion on the discography. With that all being said, let's get into it, alright? Okay, coming in at number 12. It's no surprise to anybody, really, in my opinion. Van Halen III. Van Halen III, I just think was just like just a not a Van Halen album, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the only album on this list that I've listened to maybe less than 3 times in my entire life. And it's not a good album, you know what I mean? No offense to Gary Cherone, but for me, as an outsider, it seemed almost like it was a knee-jerk reaction when Sammy left the band to be like, oh, well, we gotta get a new singer. Let's just make an album quick. And it just seems like a very quick turnaround. And it's just not a very good album, and I think this would be on 95% of everybody's list. Just a weak album, you know what I mean? Number 11, this is going to be controversial, but hear me out. Number 11 is Diver Down. Now, it's so low on this list because it's predominantly a covers album. It really is. And I'm totally cool with covers, and I love covers to some extent, but the songs that they choose to cover, like Dancing in the Street, Pretty Woman, Where Have All the Good Times Gone? It's just like, if it was cooler songs, you know, I think I would like the album a lot more, but the fact that it's kind of like almost like a disco album, especially with Dancing in the Street, just really lackluster to me, and you know, I really don't like this album that much for that reason. Coming in at number 10, an album that I think everybody would have at the bottom of their list, but I'm gonna put a little higher here at 10, A Different Kind of Truth. Now, I think this album is, you know, a pretty cool album in the sense that David Lee Roth finally came back with Van Halen and made a studio album for the first time since 1984. So, what is that, 28 years if you did the math at that time? Yeah, 28 years later, he came back and made an album. And Tattoo, I don't like at all, but She's the Woman's a pretty sick album, or a pretty sick song on the album. And I think the riff kind of sounds like Mean Streets, and I think that's a cool song. So, you know, it's cool. I can appreciate for what they're trying to do, man. But, you know, not a very good album in my opinion, but it's sitting here comfortably at number 10. Coming in at number 9, Women and Children First. Now, apart from Take Your Whiskey Home and Everybody Wants Some, nothing really on this album does it for me. But, I mean, Take Your Whiskey Home and Everybody Wants Some are some of the most classic songs. And then And the Cradle Will Rock is on this album as well. But I really don't like that song. You know, I think it's an overrated song, And the Cradle Will Rock. But people love this album. But for me, it's just kind of just like a average, you know, average middle of the road type album for Van Halen. Coming in at number 8, 5150, the debut album with Sammy Hagar. This album's an iconic album. Problem with me is the songs are way too poppy and way too romancy. You know, when Love Walks In, Why Can't This Be Love, Dreams, they're kind of softer, poppy songs for me. The only song I really like off this album is Best of Both Worlds. But I do put this a little bit higher because, in my opinion, this is the beginning of the true musicianship of Van Halen. I think when Sammy Hagar joined the band, it was no longer just like a party rock and roll band. They became really well-rounded, polished musicians, and I love it for that. So, although this album is kind of lower on the list, I appreciate it for what it is. And, you know, it was the birth of the new era of Van Halen. Coming in at number 7, this is going to be controversial. Going to get a lot of dislikes for it, but I don't care. 1984. I think 1984 is the most overrated Van Halen album I've ever heard, man. I don't understand the love, like the obsession of 1984. When you hear a lot of Van Halen fans talking about what got them into the band, it was 1984. Now, I can appreciate the album and I understand why, because this is right kind of when MTV really became a thing and there's music videos, and this is like the middle of the 80s, so Van Halen was in the forefront. I totally understand that, but for me, Jump, the most overrated Van Halen song of all time. That song is so lame, in my opinion. I really don't like Jump. Hot for Teacher, cool song, really cool song. Panama, overrated, gets overplayed for me. But then songs like Drop Dead Legs and Top Jimmy, I don't know, they're okay. I just think this album is just so overrated. It only has 3 good songs, in my opinion, or like 3 standout songs, and Jump is just so overrated. It's unbelievable. You know, I appreciate the album and I understand why it's so popular because of the MTV era, but for me, just not my thing, that's all. Coming in at number 6, OU812. I love this album for predominantly 2 or 3 songs on this album. It's not a masterpiece, but there are some really good standout tracks. And this album shows that when Sammy Hagar joined the band just kept getting better and better and just more tight and polished and just creating masterpieces of songs. Now, there's 3 songs that I love: Black and Blue, When It's Love, and Finish What You Started. I like Finish What You Started because it's a cool song, it's a cool topic, cool lyrical content, it's pretty funny. And it's something very, very different with the band. It's not a rock song per se, but it's a really cool, unique sound. I like it for that. Black and Blue, which is a heavy-hitting rock and roll song. But the one song that puts this album higher on its own is When It's Love. When It's Love arguably is the most masterful Van Halen song, in my opinion. It is a beautiful song, man. It is just an iconic, timeless, epic song, man. And especially when they get to that end part, where with the outro and that ending, you know, chant, na 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 na, that is just amazing. It's an amazing song, and it's timeless, and it's a masterpiece. I love When It's Love. Although it is a love song, I understand. It's just a masterpiece. I love that song so much. So OU812 coming in at number 6. All right, number 5, top 5, baby. Now this album sitting at number 5 pains me to do it because I love this album and I love this era of the band. But I have to be honest, 1991's For Unlawful, Carnal, Knowledge. Now, as I said, this era of the band is in my opinion, the best era of Van Halen. If you look at like the MTV movie, what was it, VMAs or whatever, in 91 when Van Halen plays Pound Cake, dude, they're just on fire. And if you listen to that live DVD, the Right Here, Right Now live DVD and CD that coincided, band is just on fire. This is the beginning of the 5150 era and the most iconic metal amp of all time. I love this era and I love this album. And, you know, Pound Cake itself just puts this album into the top 5. But then you also have timeless songs like Right Now and then Top of the World as well. I think this is the best sounding album since the original in 1991. I think this album just sounds sonically just massive. It's a massive sound. And yeah, just like I said, this era of the band is probably the tightest and it's the biggest era of the band. So, number 5, F-U-C-K. Coming in at number 4, Fair Warning. Now, there's 3 songs on this album that stand out with everybody, but there's 2 that are just heavy hitters, man, and like classic timeless rock tunes, man. So you got This Is Love, Mean Street, and Unchained. Now, Mean Street and Unchained alone, man, they're just iconic, especially Unchained, man. Just the sickest riff, man, of all time, I think, for Van Halen. Like, arguably one of the sickest riffs, man. It's just awesome. And what I love about Fair Warning is like, it's like not as poppy or like lighthearted, generally speaking, as compared to like Van Halen 2 or Diver Down. To me, it's a more rock and roll album. I mean, you know, just like with the gnarly guitar sounds from Mean Street and just the drop C sharp riff of Unchained. It's a heavier tone, heavier album. And yeah, it's just an iconic album, iconic riffs. Number 4, Fair warning. Top 3. Process of elimination, you know what the top 3 are, but where are they going to rank? Well, let's knock it out. Number 3 is Van Halen II. What an album, man. What a follow-up. It's always hard to follow up your iconic masterpiece, but what an album, man. Van Halen II, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Dead or Alive, Dance the Night Away, Beautiful Girls, I mean, Spanish Fly, Light Up the Sky. What more can you say, man? It's just like, it's amazing how they were able to follow up their debut with this album. It is so sick, man. It's such a sick album. Somebody Get Me a Doctor is one of the best, riffs of all time, too. I've been saying that a lot. There's a lot of iconic riffs in the Van Halen catalog, but like I said, man, what a follow-up to the original Van Halen album. Van Halen 2, iconic, Bumblebee guitar. It's sick, man. Number 3, Van Halen 2. Okay, top 2, Process of Elimination. Just hear me out here. Number 2 is the original, debut, 1978, classic Van Halen self-titled album. Now, what an amazing album. This album changed the world, changed the guitar, changed everything about tone, about just, you name it, man. Eddie did it. Eddie changed it. He invented the Super Strat. He invented just that nasty high gain tone. He just invented everything, man. He did it. He's the dude. He invented so much, man. I mean, and this album, top to bottom, is amazing. Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love, Jamie's Crying, Feel Your Love Tonight, Ice Cream Man. I mean, come on, dude. It's an iconic album, and it's just, like I said, it changed the music industry, and it changed the guitar, and it's just so iconic. What more could I say about Van Halen's debut album that hasn't already been said? It's my second favorite, and that's why it's sitting here at number 2. But Process of Elimination, my number 1 favorite Van Halen album, is 1995's Balance. Now hear me out. Hear me out, all right? Hear me out. Just listen to me. When everybody says, what's the most underrated Van Halen album, what's everybody point to? Balance. Everybody says Balance. It's such like an underground masterpiece. It's weird. Everybody loves Balance, but nobody really talks about Balance. It's such a weird thing to me. But Balance, for me, I could listen to top to bottom and get lost in it every single time, with the exception of one song, Big Fat Money. That song's kind of silly. But, man, just like the Seventh Seal, Can't Stop Loving You, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, Amsterdam, Aftershock, the instrumental that I don't know how to pronounce, Balacharithium or whatever, Take Me Back. It's a masterpiece. It's an absolute sonic masterpiece. And for me, it holds a little bit of sentimental value. Well, a lot of sentimental value, because that's the album that my dad really loved, and my dad's no longer with me. We would listen to that album top to bottom all the time on long drives, long car rides, or just in the house. And he loved Balance. And so as a kid, I in turn loved Balance because of him. He brought me up on that album. And to this day, I can't listen to Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do or Amsterdam or Can't Stop Loving You without tearing up a little bit. I'm doing it right now. It's just a masterpiece to me, man, and it holds so many fond memories. And I just think it's amazing. It's amazing, and maybe it's just nostalgia, weighing in on my opinion. But regardless, man, Balance is just so amazing, iconic masterpiece, and I love it so much. And it just means a lot to me. And that album I hold in high regard because it reminds me of being a little boy and hanging out with my idol, my dad. And, he's no longer here. And it's just a friendly reminder with Eddie's passing, hey, we're all getting old. We all got to go. And so let's just enjoy it. You know what I mean? So I love this album. It means a lot to me. And it makes me tear up a little bit sometimes. So everyone, with that all being said, that is my ranking of Van Halen's discography from worst to best. How did I do? What do you guys think? Leave all your thoughts down below, and let's have a nice friendly discussion. This is not my opinion being factual. It is exactly that. It's an opinion. We're all allowed to have our own opinions, so let's not fight. Let's not be petty. We're on a big giant rock floating in space. We don't need to waste time fighting about music. Let's just all hang out. Let's just chill. And let's just enjoy the legacy and the discography of Eddie Van Halen, all right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you're brand new to my channel, you want to consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay metal. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.